that the world keeps chugging along feels like an affront to those who are mourning. It seems to belittle the weight of grief and to disrespect the memory of those lost. African literature on the largest television network in Africa, the NTA, today will take a close look at the myriad of issues facing humanity. It will also listen to the predicaments of our host, the Earth, and how to solve some of these issues. I am Nene Bassi. Please stay tuned.
Preservation of the earth involves protecting and caring for our planet's natural resources and ecosystems to ensure their health and sustainability for future generations. This includes actions like reducing consumption, recycling, conserving water, using renewable energy, and protecting biodiversity. Essentially, it's about minimizing our impact on the environment and actively working to restore damaged ecosystems. But is that all? Poet, philosopher, and geophysicist Hilary Inyang, in his poem titled "The Earth Must Stop to Mourn," draws attention to the above and much more.
Earth Must Stop to Mourn as a title is my reflection on the circumstance that a lot of people on this earth face, a lot of predicaments. And I am basically advising that those who are in better circumstances should consider the circumstances of people who are ill-fated. Basically, sympathy and empathy for those who face hard circumstances. The earth itself, it's a personification of folks and society as a whole. By saying that this earth should stop to mourn, it is that people who inhabit the earth should be more conscious of the ill fates of many people who may not be doing as well as they do.
The human attributes of the earth is looked at by the poet.
The earth is referring to humans and essentially using some similarities between the behavior of humanity and the behavior of the solid earth itself. In other words, the earth never stops. It keeps rotating and revolving also around the sun. Come in day, come in night. Nothing can stop this earth from rotating. The same like society or humanity, what happens is that there may be iniquities going on, there may be happiness, but whatever the fate of folks, a fraction thereof, the world continues, life goes on. So these two entities are similars. The earth itself as a body, as well as humanity that inhabits it.
Issues such as calamities and degrees of desertification are raised in the piece.
Yes, I will basically focus on calamities. Calamities, one that is very common is war and all the ravages of war. You have folks in refugee camps displaced from their natural homes. You have people who have been killed. You have a lot of cemeteries. You have many fields of white crosses of soldiers slain. You have natural disasters. Floods come in and kill. There's fire. There's landslides. In fact, my grandmother died in a landslide, a geological event. There are so many of them. Some are, natural disasters, while others are technological disasters. You've got accidents that don't respect whether somebody has already been orphaned, whether somebody is a widow, whether somebody is a widower, whether they are children. You have behavioral disasters. Somebody walks into a primary school and shoots children. These kinds of disasters, but they come. People consider them. They are sad for a while, but life goes on. This world must stop to mourn.
Sadness, poverty, and the transient nature of life are the prominent themes in the poem.
There are so many. There's sadness, there is poverty, there is the lack of capacity of even the empowered to rescue society. So all of these are calamities in a sense, but the world goes on. The world never stops to say, well, what should we do here? Life should stop. Let's mourn. Let's see how we do this. Those who have escaped those calamities have to carry on living. So the world continues.
The poet conveys his thoughts in a unique style.
Well, I basically put myself in the position of the person who is an observer. Yes, I am an observer of circumstance, and then explaining that circumstance and urging the world to change. Basically, that's my mood in doing this. I see myself as a humble advisor to the world to change its means, its ways. There should be more empathy in the world. Perhaps if there is more empathy in the world and sympathy, some of the conflicts will abate. You have wars everywhere. Also, those that are in control of rescue instruments would deploy them a lot better because they are concerned and they would then know that rescue is of the utmost, that we shouldn't just pretend that not much has happened. Not much would have happened to us that is bad, but there are many victims around the world who are in circumstances that are very dire. There are circumstances. We should be more empathetic to their circumstance.
The structure of the work is explained.
Where my poem is, typically I used about 6 stanzas of my poetry. The first part is usually basically an introduction, but not cast quite as such. I use figure of speech and all those other instruments to try to introduce the issue. I start by saying this earth pretends to be oblivious of transactions. That means that in this life, there are always transactions, but there will be some accidents in those transactions. And there will be losers and there will be some winners. So the surface haze she bears. The earth bears a surface haze. That surface haze, it's mysterious. Humans, us all, we live in that haze. We live in that haze of advantages and disadvantages distributed unevenly. So that is what I am introducing our circumstance to be. This earth must stop to mourn, no rotation to fake delights. Some delights could be very fake. Yeah, people are happy and it's just a coping mechanism, but down inside it, you have sadness spotting on delights. And then there are some people who have more sadness than delight. And there are some people who are lucky enough by the ravages of fate or the laurels of fate to be doing much better than others. So that's the circumstance. And then I get to the tally keeper's report. Who is the tally keeper? I'm pretending to be the tally keeper. In stanza 3, I begin with, upon the tally keeper's report of high casualties at the front. In other words, I am now exposing the reader to the fact that there are some casualties at the front. What is the front? The front of life.
Some literary devices were deployed in writing the piece.
The main 2 instruments that are represented here, as you have alluded to, you were very good in identifying them. One of them is metaphors, and the second one is personification. When I use the term the earth, I don't only mean the solid earth itself, which in the geological sciences we call the geoid. They say it is a geoid, composed of rocks, water, and all the like. But I'm also using the earth to mean humanity. I could have said humanity must stop to mourn.
The target audience is mainly the sects in the society, with the power to salvage the situation.
My target audience is a set of folks who have the means to rescue. They may be of different ages, but typically in professional development, these people are typically people in their mid-ages and people who are in key positions. They have pomp and pageantry and power. The earth must stop to mourn. Who are the people that can stop at least the behavioral earth, not the solid earth? You can't stop the solid. That would be a lesson in frustration. You cannot stop the earth from rotating. It rotates full course every 24 hours, night and day. And then it also revolves around the sun. Nobody can stop that. Humanity can't. We are mere passengers as well as far as that is concerned. But when it comes to behavioral part of humanity, that humanity with the resources that she has can change this earth, can stop to mourn. Not the physical earth, but the behavioral earth. For example, those that are in power can institute systems on rescue. We see that even the United Nations tries to do that. The United Nations tries to argue for peace, to induce countries to stop fighting, so that the heavy load of mourning can decrease.
Some lessons are inherent in the poem.
The lessons are about three. First, that circumstances are uneven, that there are those who are under dire circumstances, whereas there are others that are doing quite well, if doing quite well can be defined. But in very relative terms, there are those who always do better than the others. It could be their level of wealth, it could be their level of habitation, their level of empowerment, their level of knowledge, and many others, many other criteria that can be used to define doing better, that the world is uneven. Second, that the world is too stoic. The world does not really consider enough the circumstances of those that are disadvantaged. Third, that it is possible for the world to stop, to galvanize support for those who are victims of many unfortunate situations and fates. So those are the three primary lessons that I would like the readers of this poem to take note of.
The poet explains why poetry is his choice way of communicating his messages.
I choose to write poems as the report of what I have seen and what I think and what I propose. This is because I have had the opportunity of visiting numerous countries, by the last count about 77. And I have physically lived in about 11 countries. So there's a lot of material for me to use to compose my output to the world to read and then enjoy. And I found out that poetry gives me the brevity that I need to be able to write the number of books about the several issues and the several places I have had the humble opportunity to visit, and numerous engagements in various professions in different places. So I find poetry to be very exciting and as something that gives me the opportunity to summarize what I think, and also to do this in a way that has lyrical content, and also in some cases rhyme although I rarely use that because I go for renditions that of philosophy rather than to try to struggle to find ways of making words rhyme.
Philosophy and literature shares a lot in common. Arts composition today celebrates a Nigerian-American poet with a touch of philosophy in his poems.
The Earth Must Stop to Mourn by Hilary BrownBard Inyang is poem number 3193 of his over 8,500 poems. The poem is Hilary's address to those in authority with the means to cast change for the betterment of humanity. Professor Hilary BrownBard Inyang, FAAS, is a globally renowned geoscientist, science diplomat, and philosophy poet. He is the founding chair and distinguished professor of the Global Institute for Sustainable Development, Advanced Analysis and Design, headquartered in North Carolina, USA, following a role as U.S. Ambassador's Distinguished Scholar to Ethiopia. He served previously as the Duke Energy Endowed Distinguished Professor of Environmental Engineering and Science and Global Institute's Director of the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, USA. DuPont Endowed Young Professor of the University of Massachusetts, Lowell, USA, President and Vice Chancellor of African University of Science and Technology, Abuja, and Botswana International University of Science and Technology, Botswana. Adjunct Professor of Humanities at the University of New Delhi, India, and UNESCO consultant, among several other academic and research positions. He is the author of more than 300 technical publications and is in the final stages of completion of 50 books of poetry, comprising more than 8,500 poems, considered to be the most extensive rendition of themed poetry in history.
Reading a story through the eyes of the characters enables readers gain intimacy into the thoughts and feelings of characters. Coming up next is a literary device that is responsible for this.
Epistolary literature is a type of narrative technique in which the story is told through a series of documents, primarily letters, diary entries, or other forms of written communication. These documents serve as the primary source of information about the characters, plots, or settings, allowing the reader to gain a first-hand perspective of the story. This literary device has been used in a variety of genres, from romance and comedy to horror and science fiction, and can be found in novels, short stories, plays, and other forms of literature. The roots of epistolary literature can be traced back to ancient civilizations, where letters were often used to communicate between people who were separated by distance or time. The ancient Egyptians, for example, used letters as a form of communication, and many ancient Greek and Roman writers, such as Plato and Cicero, wrote letters to friends, family, and colleagues. One of the earliest known examples of epistolary literature is the letters of Abelard and Héloïse, a collection of letters written between the 12th century French philosopher Peter Abelard and his student and lover Héloïse. In the 18th century, the popularity of epistolary novels continued to grow, with writers such as Samuel Richardson, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, all using the device in their works. Examples of epistolary literature in African works: Weep Not Child by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, published in 1964, which tells the story of a young boy in Kenya during the Mau Mau uprising. The Concubine by Eliche Amadi, published in 1966, which is a novel that tells the story of a woman in Nigeria who is married to a wealthy man but is also in love with another man. Importance of epistolary literature: authenticity and immediacy. Epistolary literature allows the reader to experience the story in a more immediate and authentic way. By reading the story directly through the eyes of the characters, readers are given an intimate look into their thoughts and feelings. Character development. Epistolary literature is an excellent way to develop characters. By reading their letters or diary entries, readers can gain insight into the characters' motivations, desires, and innermost thoughts. Time and space. Epistolary literature allows writers to explore themes related to time and space in a unique way. For example, a character's letters or diary entries can be written over a period of time, allowing the reader to witness the character's growth and development. Multiple perspectives. Epistolary literature can also be used to explore multiple perspectives in a single story. Flexibility. Epistolary literature can be used in a variety of genres, from romance and mystery to historical fiction as well as science fiction, making it a versatile tool for writers to create compelling narratives. Types of epistolary literature. Diaries. These are personal journals written by a character that recounts their daily experiences, thoughts, and feelings. A famous example is the Diary of Anne Frank. Letters. These are written communication between two or more characters that reveal information about their thoughts, feelings, and actions. A famous example is Les Liaisons d'Aujourd'hui. Newspaper or magazine articles. These are written as news reports or interviews that provide information about events and people within the story. Epic poetry. This is a narrative poem that recounts the deeds of a heroic character. While epic poetry is not strictly epistolary, it can use letters or other forms of written communication as part of the storytelling. Blogs and social media. These are relatively new forms of epistolary literature that use online platforms like blogs or social media posts to recount events, share opinions, and provide personal reflections.
A better society begins with the right attitude. If you and I cultivate the right attitude, I bet you African continent will reap peace and the earth will cease to mourn. Thank you for staying through the program. Till same time next week, stay safe and bye.